Okay, let me ask you a few questions. Let's talk about restaurants. Would you be willing to wait for a really good restaurant a half hour, or would you just eat somewhere kind of crappy because you could get in right away?
What do you think? The look on people's faces when they wait in line is like, are you going to eat or to stand quietly?
Have you ever uttered the phrase, "get off my lawn"?
No.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I've said, but I didn't mean like old man, like, get off my lawn. I meant more like, this is my property, so get off my lawn.
I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. You have early onset grumpiness.
What?
Early onset grumpiness, EOG. You're going to begin to enjoy fewer and fewer things in your life. You'll be saying things like, who are these people?
Who are those people? It's a real question.
The only reason you leave the house is to see classic old movies, and even then you'll say, it had some good parts, but all in all, it was fairly uneven. You're very young to have EOG. Your life is going to change forever.
Is there anything I can do?
Normally we try meds, but you're too young for them. I'm sorry. I'll notify your family.
Don't notify my sister. She doesn't even pick up the phone half the time. She gives people a hard time.
TBTL.
Hey, Johnny.
Oh, hi, Danny.
What's wrong with Mark?
He's cranky today.
All right, let's toss the ball around.
Are you aware that other networks refer to us as the Poland of broadcasting?
How did these buff dudes escape my radar? I thought I knew about every single buff dude.
Look at the size of that boy's head. Shh. I'm not kidding, it's like an orange on a toothpick.
Shh, you gotta give the boy a complex.
Well, that's a huge noggin.
Remember, boys, no points for second place.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Monday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
If you don't like drama, you might want to put your phone away for this one.
My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host.
I happen to know a guy who's at his limit.
Coming to you from the beautiful south waterfront of Portland, Oregon, where I am seriously at my limit with Bubbles the cat, who lives here at Becca's apartment and who is just absolutely obsessed with the broadcast setup here on this Monday, as we've arrived at episode 4604 in a collector's series.
Let the fun begin.
She's scraping the side of her face on the various corners of my laptop. And then when she's not doing that, she's walking across the keyboard of the laptop, which will be activating sounds and or hanging up on the whole broadcast, I'm sure, at some point. And then when she's not doing both of those things, she's trying to chew through the headphone cable that I need to hear the show and what's going on. So we are going to do our very best, working under extreme circumstances here at episode, as I mentioned, 4604. But I think we can do it. I saw a movie last night.
So who needs a movie?
At the fabulous Hollywood Theater here in Portland in 35 millimeter. Been a long time since I've seen a film movie that when you leave the movie house, you see those big reels turning there in the projection booth. It was the movie J. Kelly, starring George Clooney and Adam Sandler and Emily Mortimer, among others. It's a film made by Noah Baumbach about a guy in middle age who works in the entertainment business and has made a bunch of decisions throughout his life related to those jobs in the entertainment business. And some of them have created adverse family effects, and he's trying to make sense of his whole life. So in other words,
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
I don't think you could make a movie that was more designed to cause me to have some real deep thoughts about my life and my decisions. So we'll talk about that. And if we have time, we'll talk about the latest in the world of Skyjinx. The Secretary of Transportation would like the airline passengers of America to start, I don't know, being, in his estimation, nicer to each other and dressing better. As far as the airlines not often just completely screwing us over, no movement on that from the Department of Transportation. But he would like us dressing a little better on the flights. We can talk about that too if we get to it. We'll definitely get to this guy, though. He is the longest-running co-bro of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships.
L-O-L-R-O.
He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. I received something that absolutely delighted me when I went to the post office late last week. I think it was after we said goodbye on Friday. You know, Luke, how people will sometimes suggest audio drops for us to use during the show? And I love that. That's where a lot of our good audio comes from. But I got a whole setup here in my studio that allows me to grab tape pretty easily and in relatively high fidelity. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, not every listener has that, right? So sometimes listeners
It's
will
an oddly niche, like, skill set, equipment, experience. A lot of times people will send us drops, and it will be pretty clear that it's not something that they're doing on the regular.
Yeah, and that's fine because you don't have that setup, and so usually it'll, maybe somebody will actually take out their phone and record a scene on the TV and say, hey, this is from Veep season 3, and this is the time code. And they're just saying, like, maybe you can go and grab this. Or they'll flag it in different ways. Or just say that in an email. Like, oh, hey, I was watching this show in about the 5-minute mark or something. I think there was a good drop you might want to use. Sometimes they'll include a link. There's various ways to get it to us. Some people actually send in very good high-fidelity audio. But this, Luke, this was a first. Do you hear that noise I'm making? I'm lettermanning it over here. I got a
Oh, I see.
I got a postcard. Let's see here. On the front of the postcard is a beautiful photo, like a waterfront. It says it's the new Jekyll Island fishing pier in Jekyll Island, Georgia. But this postcard actually comes from Tacoma, from listener Lydia, looks like. And it says, hi, guys. I love your show, and I listen all the time. I need to take off my glasses.
That's a great way to start.
I know.
Any and all correspondences to the program.
Exactly. But then it says, but I have some points I need to make, especially
it's a terrible way
about Luke.
To transition into the body of your message.
How dare you? No, it says, hi, guys. I love your show and listen all the time. Thanks. I love all the drops so much, classic and new, but I don't know how you find them. I occasionally notice that great potential drops in the wild, and I couldn't let this one get past without alerting you. On YouTube, the 1981 high school comedy Square Pegs, episode 3, about 9:41, maybe we should do something to save him from becoming a human microchip, was to me pure gold. You may have already used it. Love, Lydia in Tacoma, Washington. Also, the next scene, you are like beyond the valley of the lame. And then a smiley face. So this is the first time I've ever received a drop suggestion in handwriting, written down on the back of a postcard and mailed to us using the U.S. Postal Service and dropped right into my P.O. box. Now, as I was waiting for you to dial up, I was only able to grab one of these drops. I did not have time to grab both of them. But let's start with this.
An indication that the TV show Square Pegs is available on YouTube or something?
It is. At least episode 3 is. And again, Lydia did such a great job of pointing me directly to where this is.
And it was famously, by the way, that was the show that launched Sarah Jessica Parker's career, correct?
This is stuff that I've learned in the past 2 or 3 minutes, as a matter of fact, because I'd never heard of Square Pegs before. And I was watching the beginning of this. Was this on your radar? It seems like you would have been a little bit young for a high school teen
here's
show.
what I know about Square Pegs. It's where Sarah Jessica Parker started out. Like, many times when I've been like reading a bio of her, listening to an interview, it will be mentioned that she was on something called Square Pegs. That's as far as my I would believe anything you told me about the show, that it's a show about humans that are square, that are trying to fit into round holes of life. They could be robots, like a Small Wonder style, but maybe their programming is square. I will believe anything you tell me about the program.
I don't know much about it other than I believe it was a teen sitcom with a laugh track. I'm looking at it here. It aired during the 82-83 season, which means it might have only had one. Yeah, looks like it only survived one season. It was on CBS. It does have Sarah Jessica Parker, and let's see here. Created by SNL writer Ann Bates. Do we know an Ann Bates? Beatts?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, well, it just looks like I think it's just a comedy that takes place in high school. And I've isolated these drops, but now I'm wondering if that's actually even, since you're unfamiliar with the show, maybe I should play a little bit more of the scene here. I've got it queued up. Now, this is from an episode called Pac-Man Fever. Keep in mind, this is very early 80s. The video game console is kind of new and novel, and so it looks like maybe...
Oh, it's not about the Cincinnati Bengals safety, Pac-Man Jones.
I think they address it later.
Okay.
I think as a sort of a second, like kind of a second thought
Gotcha.
on this.
Second reference. Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I'm on YouTube and I'm just realizing now I'm getting Baldur's Gate video suggested to me. This is a new thing. This is brand new. I recognize Shadowheart though. That's growth. All right.
So you have early onset Baldur's Gate.
I certainly do. Look at
Let me alert your family.
Look at the Baldur's Gate on this guy. Am I right? So here, let me play a little. So I think what's happening here is we have some kids in the classroom, and I guess I didn't realize one of these might be Sarah Jessica Parker. I kind of can't tell from this screen grab I'm on right now, but it looks like maybe one of their friends, who for some reason is in a sling, is getting too into video games. I think the friends are a little bit worried. I'm going to go back to this. Comes in around 9:40. I'm going to start this right around 9. Oh yeah, that is a young Sarah Jessica Parker. How cool is this?
I'm working for money, big bucks. The Guinness Book of Records.
Well, in that case, you can pay for the movie Friday.
What movie?
Don't you remember? We were going to go see one of Woody Allen's funny movies.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of spent my movie money this week.
And your lunch money. And your college money.
He's walking very goofily for some reason. I'm thinking that maybe he's imitating a robot or something, because he's maybe or maybe he's imitating Pac-Man. He's sort of like scuffling about, like taking very tiny steps, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Is he being chased by any ghosts? Because that means it's probably Pac-Man.
I don't see any ghosts. Well, there's some colored ghosts. Like,
does he keep
different
ducking
colors
into little doorways in the hallway of the high school, but then emerging from other doorways?
All of the ghosts just turn blue for some reason.
Oh, that's good. He needs to turn around.
Okay,
this is actually really good. Do that fast, though.
Okay, all right, sounds good. What are these cherries?
Well, unless they have an asteroid scholarship.
I think we have a textbook case of video game abuse.
And we're the ones who helped get him hooked. Yeah. Maybe we should do something to save him from becoming a human microchip.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
That's pretty good.
That is the drop. And then I didn't have time to find the second one in the next scene where it says something about a case of the lamos or whatever. You are like beyond the valley of the lame.
I am very interested in one deet from the Square Peg's Wikipedia page, which is that the theme music was composed, for the pilot, Paul Schaefer helped out, as in Paul Schaefer from The World's Most Dangerous Band and The World's Most Dangerous Band, David Letterman, second reference today. But the theme music was composed by the Waitresses. And now the Waitresses,
Not
of course,
our Waitresses.
They are the Waitresses, the same band that did, I Know What Boys Like, and then Christmas Rapping, which we are so close to me being able to break out Christmas Rapping, one of my very favorite Christmas songs. So I'm curious what the Square Peg's theme song sounded like, if it was that classic Waitresses sound or not.
Interesting. Well, I can roll back here to the beginning of the episode. I'm sorry I jumped in there. I thought the Waitresses was an indie band. I think I was confusing them with the Walkmen for a second. When you said the Waitresses, I was thinking like, early twee pop indie band that we like. Maybe.
No, the Waitresses are more, I know what boys like.
Oh, okay.
Boys like me. And then Christmas Rapping, oh, damn, guess what I forgot? Da 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 Christmas memory. I know for a fact you've heard Christmas Rapping even by accident, just in wandering through a mall at Christmas in the last 30 years. It's a great song though. I honestly think it's like top 10 Christmas song.
Man, you're not gonna like to hear this. I think I need to update a driver or something. I've noticed this, not the computer I'm talking to you on, but the computer that I use to play
my friend,
audio.
You just turned into a human microchip.
I really did. Like I don't even want to talk about this, but for the past couple of weeks now, I realize I'll be over here talking to you. One computer's fine, but this other computer, the one that I use for all of my work and playing audio and all that stuff, usually a few minutes into the show, I just lose internet, and I have to toggle my internet off and on, and then it starts working again. Not the internet itself, just like the device on my computer, like put it into airplane mode and take it out. But I've been doing that almost every day now, and I was having trouble. I was panicking there. I'm glad that you went on that little background around the Waitresses, because I was trying to get to the beginning of this show. So internet is back. We're good here.
Okay.
I will be looking at some driver updates maybe over the holiday weekend. We'll see about
Carol,
that.
hold his calls.
Yeah, I don't even like to think about that. I'm not even joking. It's just, if I start chasing that
Thanksgiving is canceled.
Oh,
Your birthday is
my God.
canceled,
Everything
sir.
is
You're just
canceled.
going
That's
into
right.
driver download mode.
I keep forgetting about that. This is my birthday week. You should be nicer to me. Stop being so mean to me, Luke. You've been mean to me all show. All right, let's take a listen to the beginning of Square Pegs. This is episode 3, Pac-Man Fever, very beginning on YouTube. Internet's working.
Okay.
Listen, I've got this whole high school thing psyched out. It all
Psyched
breaks
out.
down into clicks. Clicks? Yeah, you know, clicks. Little.
By the way, this is really interesting. I'm not joking. We're hearing this audio. You all might be imagining these kids talking. We're not seeing that scene. We're seeing like quasi-psychedelic shots of the school. We see the outside of the school, and it kind of zooms in, and now we're seeing some shots inside the school and classrooms. But they're all very lonely looking photos, with like kind of dramatic light coming in through mini blinds. We don't see any kids. They're just dropping this tape over top of these images in a way that I really am into. I'm not joking. All right, let me start this again. I'm assuming a beat is about to drop over top of this, but we'll see.
Listen, I've got this whole high school thing psyched out. It all breaks down into clicks. Clicks? Yeah, you know, clicks. Little in-groups of different kids. All we have to do is click with the right click, and we can finally have a social life that's worthy of us. No way. Not even with cleavage. I told you, this year we're gonna be popular. Yeah? Yeah. Even if it kills us.
Square peg, square peg, square peg. Always never quite right. Square peg, square peg, square peg. I'd like it if they'd like us, but I don't think they'd like us. Square peg, square peg, square peg. Don't want to wear my glasses, I have to wear my glasses. Square peg, square peg, square peg. Square peg, square peg, square peg. One size does not fit all.
And we're blocked in Romania.
That is such an edgy opening theme package. I was watching it on mute while you were playing it, and you're totally right. It's all these kind of like still photos that are then being, I guess you could say, slightly animated.
I'm
It
glad you
starts
were
with just,
watching it, because I think
like
it's really good. It's like it's all empty classrooms. It's like kind of eerie, right?
I was totally expecting it to be like a theme song from, Saved by the Bell, which, basically, I always thought the Saved by the Bell theme song was just somebody ripped off the when you're running around first and you feel something burst diarrhea song. It's like when you wake up in the morning and you hear the alarm churning and you da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's just like a very like narrating the morning of a high school student.
Little Rebecca Blackie.
There you go. It's Friday. Got to get down on Friday. But that was so much more like what's the word, artsy,
And
with
cool.
starting with just like the VO, and then I do feel like it could have eased into the waitresses a little bit more. It sort of went from like spoken word to just like square peg, square peg, square peg. But I overall I really respect it. I also understand why it was only on for one season. It's not welcoming as an opening theme, but I respect it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the song. I mean, that's the first I've heard it. Maybe it'll grow on me. I plan on listening to it a lot later on today. But yeah, it jumps in pretty quickly. But I mean, it starts with cold open tape and then music.
That's what we like
and I'm
about
just
it,
like,
probably.
oh yeah, like this is exactly how I produce things. I'm actually really into that opening, and also like the images start with like you literally see the outside of the school and then you see the inside of the school, but it's a big hallway with like classic lockers on either side, but it's all empty and you just see like a janitor's bucket in the middle, and then like these shots of like a classroom clearly after hours, like I mentioned, with like kind of dramatic lighting, and then little by little you start to see some sort of like life come into these images as you see students sort of lining up for food in a cafeteria. But like, what an interesting way. Do you start by showing the school empty and dark and then fill up? It's not bad, my friends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the way that they use the word psyched out, only because where I grew up, that was not. There was two ways that we would ever use psych. One would be like, I'm joking, like psych. That meant I'm pretending.
I tricked you, sort of.
Yes,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
You're a psych.
And yeah, like that was the main way. And then I guess I mean, maybe that was the only
No,
way that I knew
psyched
about.
out. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. You could use it, though, as a verb or a noun, I think is the two ways. You could say, like, or well, maybe verb is the wrong. I psyched you out, right? Oh, my God.
I could psych you out.
I was
I psyched you out.
I was playing basketball. Well, no, let me not go into sports terms, especially a sport that I literally know nothing about. But, you know, I told Tony we had a substitute teacher today, and he didn't have to do his homework, but if we actually have our regular teacher, I totally psyched him out. I don't know
Exactly.
if that's the best
but
example.
no, that works. But what we wouldn't have said where I grew up, and again, this was set in Norwalk, California at Excelsior High School. So maybe they just had a different, lexicon there, a different lingo. But when I might even be the Sarah Jessica Parker character says, I've got this year all psyched out.
Yeah.
I take that to mean I've got it all figured out. And I don't think where I grew up, that's how we would have ever used the word psych in that era of the 1980s.
Me too. I had never heard in that context before. I don't know if that's just weird writing on behalf of this, or it's just like it's also kind of before my time. This is 81. You know, I'm like, 5 years old or something now, and it's California talk. But I got to say, and I'm saying this in all earnestness, what a cool damn postcard. Thank you, Lydia. I love the fact that you sent us a postcard with timestamps on it so that we could, like, you were watching the show and then clearly like watching it and writing at the same time, because then parenthetically, like under the address says, oh, there's another good drop in the next scene. Like, you're just like, I gotta get this audio to the business boys. What's the best way to do that? Well, where are my postcards and my pen and
Send
my
a raven.
stamps? Yes. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all the free content at the top of the show, Lydia, because otherwise we were going to be stuck with me talking about this cat, Andrew. And I know that's not super compelling to sort of a cat that you can't see and the listeners can't see, and the fact that it's making the broadcast hard. But like, Bubbles is on one today like I've never seen in my whole time of knowing her, in terms of climbing over the computer, climbing onto me, chewing on the cables. It's like I'm wondering if maybe we had some kind of a Freaky Friday thing where a human being. Are you a human, Bubbles? Are you? Is Addie trapped in there? The cat is behaving like in a movie where a human gets put into some kind of thing that we don't think of as being human, and now they're trying to alert me that they're a human inside there. Like, I understand a little bit of curiosity from this cat, but like, this is a level of harassing me and bothering the broadcast. She's just currently walking across the keyboard, and now she's just stepped onto my lap, which would be fine. She could sit on my lap. In fact, that would feel amazing. No, now she's climbing off of my lap onto this bar cart. Then she's going to jump from that bar cart. This is the loop she's doing. Back onto the table where I'm doing the show, and then she's going to... This cat, Becca, has now emerged from her bedroom and is... Thank you, by the way, for distracting her. It is... I've never seen... My theory, Becca, is that there's a human trapped inside of Bubbles, and she's trying to let us know that she's a human being. Because that's the only thing that would account for this level of, harassment. Well, okay, so now, luckily, Becca's out and about, which means that now there'll be somebody else to distract Bubbles. So every day that I'm around this cat, Andrew, I'm more jealous of your relationship with Bingo, is what it really comes down to.
He's a good guy. Let me.
He does none of this shit. He just wants to watch birds on the laptop.
That's not entirely true. Like, while I was just talking and doing that amazing, what I assume to be award-winning segment about square pegs, he did jump on my audio board at one point, and if he he would be muting stuff, I had to like scramble and pick him up off it and put him on the shelf behind me, because he also kind of gets in the way of the broadcast. But
all right, that makes me feel all right. Bubbles, Bingo also does things that are distracting and not great, but man, she is like really, really, really agitated this morning. So anyway, all right, okay, that's now actually, that situation has more or less calmed down because the bedroom door is open, so she can go into the bedroom and think her thoughts now. So we should be able to get on with things. I saw a movie last night, this new Noah Baumbach film, Jay Kelly. Have you heard anything about this?
No, literally never heard anything about it.
Well, it's interesting because I saw like I think a New York Times review of it, but I didn't read the review. I just saw the headline that said it was really good. And so I like Noah Baumbach. And, of course, I like George Clooney and Adam Sandler, so I kind of had it in my head like, oh, I'll be looking for that. And then yesterday, Becca and I were looking around for like, oh, is there a movie we'd like to see in Portland? And, in fact, most of the movies were just absolute drivel. It's like I think it's maybe we're going into the holiday movie season, which means a lot of like, quote-unquote, family films. So it's just a lot of, we went through a run of about 8 films where we're like, I wouldn't see that if you paid me kind of thing. And then we're looking at the Hollywood in Portland, which is a great sort of first run movie theater that has a lot of like, they can do stuff on film too. And they just had like 2 screenings of this Jay Kelly movie, which I'd been hearing about and which has George Clooney in it. It's like, you think this would be playing everywhere. And then what I realized was it's going on Netflix in like a week.
Oh, it's one of those dealios.
So I guess, would you call that like a limited release? It's like, it's only for the weirdos. Like, because you could watch this for free or for what you're already paying Netflix in a week, or you could go sit in a movie theater and watch it right now, and that's what we did.
Which also has to do with awards, right? Like, I think that Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein just came out. I don't know if I told you this. I didn't even know about that damn movie, but I was hanging out with my parents when I was in Ohio, and one night my dad was just like, "Hey, do you want to watch that Frankenstein movie?" I'm like, "I don't know what Frankenstein movie you're talking about," and then he told me that there's a new Frankenstein movie, which again, it seems kind of similar. I think it like hit theaters maybe for a week, if that, and then it was mostly directly to Netflix streaming. But I was kind of like, I don't know, I don't love scary movies, but it's not really that scary. There's a little, it's a modern Frankenstein movie. It's Guillermo del Toro, so there's plenty of like prop work and stuff. There's going to be some.
I find that more scary, like Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, well, I've never
I'm
seen
more
Pan's
afraid
Labyrinth.
of Guillermo del Toro's work than I am of like, I don't know, a horror auteur.
Well, I gotta say, I ended up like watching. We didn't end up finishing it. I think my dad fell asleep or something, and so then I put on something else. But I figured we'd watch it. You would finish it the next night. We never did. But I had nightmares, Luke. Nightmares. I did that thing where I woke up in the middle of the night, went to use the restroom or something, and thought, "Oh, I was dreaming about something. What was I dreaming about?" And then when I remembered what I was dreaming about, I yelped. I was like, It was like very upsetting visual body horror. That would
Were you
be very
dreaming about
much...
somebody calling the monster Frankenstein?
I was
instead of Frankenstein's monster.
I did. I don't even want to.
That's woken me up in a cold sweat a few times.
This wasn't even. We'll get back to your movie in a second. I just want to say that this is. I'm gonna a little trigger warning, maybe even for you, Luke, if you want to go not listen to this part of the show.
Okay.
But
putting the headphones on Bubbles.
This was the least upsetting part of the dream, as far as just like gross body stuff happening. And this is my dream, not the movie, but inspired by the movie. There was some sort of sick. Like, you know what? You're gonna hate this so much. In my dream, there was somebody who was like a butcher at like a serving station, like a carving station. But they were carving off of a live pig that they were keeping alive artificially, like a Frankenstein.
Whoa.
They had a Frankenstein.
Is there something like that in the movie?
No, I mean, there's just a lot of like
weird bio,
a lot of weird bio regenerating. Taking dead things, making them alive, keeping them alive. It actually seemed pretty good. I wouldn't mind going back and finish watching it. But yeah, I didn't even, as I started to describe that scene from my dream, I feel like maybe this isn't even appropriate to say out loud, but that is what happened in my head that night, Luke. And that wasn't the worst of it.
That's horrifying stuff. I mean, again, I think Guillermo del Toro is undeniably a very talented filmmaker, but it's almost like he's a little too talented when it comes to or like the people he works with. His team of folks that kind of like create these fantastical creatures, and some of them are sort of upsettingly fantastical and things like that. Like, he's really good with that, which is actually a reason why I would consider seeing that Frankenstein movie. I think it's also got the actor Mia Goth in it, who I really like.
What do you know her from? Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing her everywhere.
Pearl.
You've seen those?
Parts of it, and let me tell you, it's also very upsetting.
That's the thing. She seems so good. And I saw a bunch of people dressing up like her character for Halloween this year. It like suddenly just became a thing. And that was a trio of movies that's actually several years old now, right? And now I'm seeing them all over the place. And I'm compelled, but I don't think I have the constitution to watch those kinds of films.
No, I think it'll be bad. It'll be a bad dream night at Black Rock for old Andy Walsh after watching Pearl. Just based on the parts of it I've seen, I think it's. But
she was good, huh? I got
very. I'll put it this way: very compelling, very compelling at acting. Thankfully, there was nothing upsetting about the movie Jay Kelly. In fact, it was so interesting to me because it almost felt like a throwback. Like, it felt like a movie that would have been made in the 1950s or something. I was saying this to Becca last night when we were leaving the theater. I feel like for a lot of movies these days that are, I guess you could say, essentially a drama maybe a drama with some comedy woven in. The goal is, unless you're talking about like Wes Anderson, right? Or someone who's hyper stylized, who like makes a movie that's intentionally not naturalistic, like that's just not what they do. I would say that most of the films, the thing that we look for in them is, do the people, when they talk and when they're doing things, does it seem like the way people talk and are doing things in real life? Like When Harry Met Sally is a perfect example. I feel like When Harry Met Sally, the dialogue felt so honest and motivated, and it was about minutia. But at that time, we're pre-Seinfeld. Nobody's talking about minutia that way in movies. Maybe like I feel like we are in an era where, and I know When Harry Met Sally was a long time ago, but my point is, this movie felt like it knew it was a film, and it knew it didn't have to be extremely realistic in the way people talked and interacted at all times. And I kind of liked that. So the premise of the movie is, George Clooney is this actor. His name is Jay Kelly. He's basically George Clooney. He's a huge international movie star who is about the age that George Clooney currently is. And his agent / manager, I think, is played by Adam Sandler. He's got this whole team of people around him. He's got this kind of complicated relationship with his adult daughters because he's been gone filming movies his whole life. And also a complicated relationship with an old friend of his who was in acting school with him, played by Billy Crudup, who they both went on the same audition years and years and years previously when they were both in acting school, and it changed both of their lives for different reasons. And so, anyway, throughout the movie, he ends up. It felt like there's these scenes, a bunch of scenes on these trains where he's interacting with Jay Kelly, the character's interacting with a whole train car of people who are fans of his, who can't believe he's on this regular ass train in France and stuff, and like none of it felt super realistic to me, but I found it super entertaining. Like the analogy I used last night was like when Gene Kelly is dancing and singing in the rain, it doesn't feel like that's a real thing someone would do, but it's really entertaining. And I feel like this movie had and also, by the way, Noah Baumbach films I have found to also be really super intelligent, like The Squid and the Whale, super well written, and again, pretty realistic. Like they don't get it. Like here's one thing they did in this movie, Jay Kelly, that I haven't seen in forever, is like flashback scenes. Like in this way, George Clooney's character will be like somewhere. He's George Clooney right now. He's 65 years old or however old he is. And he'll be like walking through a door on a train and he'll enter into a memory and he'll just be watching it. It's real Scrooge shit going on. It's real like, Ghost of Christmas Past, where he's in the corner watching this thing that changed the course of his life, but he's watching it kind of, from the background now. Like, and that's a move that I would generally think of as kind of corny. Like, as we don't do that in movies anymore. The movies that I watch, we just don't do a lot of that kind of stuff. And they put all of it in this movie, and it kind of worked for me.
That sounds cool. I just think it just depends on whose hands it's in. You know what I mean?
Well,
that
that's
kind of
the
thing.
thing.
And you know what I'm realizing here? I think you'll be surprised by this. I don't think I've ever seen a Noah Baumbach directed film. I know I've seen stuff that he's written on or produced or whatever, but like it's the type of thing that years and years ago, like when I first was dating Genevieve, I know that the timeline doesn't work out here IRL, but it would be those kinds of movies that I would be bringing to the relationship. It seems like, you know what I mean? Like serious, because they tend to be kind of serious, right? Tackling kind of life issues, dramatic, like you say.
Yeah.
Like Greenberg has been on my list for 20 years or however long it's been out, but like I never sit down to watch it because I think it's going to break my heart. And I like those kinds of movies, but it's kind of like I just like, when am I going to sit down to watch it? I needed somebody to spring it on me, I think, or maybe have a showing, at a local theater. Sometimes they bring movies back because I don't know. But anyway, all of that is to say, these types of movies sound great, and they sounds like you're saying that these techniques could be corny, or you think them corny, but when they're in somebody's hands that you trust, a filmmaker, like I love that.
I think that's a big part of it for me, is that I respect his filmmaking a lot. And so going into it, I had already sort of agreed to the terms of whatever Noah Baumbach was setting out. And so if this is, I've never heard of the director and it's not starring George Clooney, it's a totally different movie. And the main character keeps walking through doors into full acted out memories, featuring, by the way, an actor playing a young version of him, which is always real dangerous territory. Like I would have been much more skeptical, But I think I was just like, well, I'm in good hands here with Noah Baumbach and his his sort of resume. Also, you're talking about how like you never are in the mood to just like sit down and watch Greenberg, and you might have to catch it when it's being replayed somewhere, or being like at a movie theater where they've revived it or whatever you call that. That was the other thing that we were talking about, Becca and I, leaving the movie, because we were like, well, we could have watched this on Netflix in a week. And I was like, I'm so glad we went and sat in that movie theater. First of all, it was friggin' packed on a Sunday night. Like, that has probably something to do with the fact that it's 35 millimeter, and there's a certain kind of film fan, a certain cineast who is, into that kind of stuff. And it was cool to see those like occasional little like lens flares and things kind of happening actually, in the film. But I was just glad because it was like, and Becca said, if we would have been watching it on Netflix, you probably, we'd have our phones out. We're probably also low key monitoring Instagram or whatever else. I'm checking Sunday Night Football to see if like the Rams have decimated the Bucks, which they did. Quite sadly, like it was nice to force ourselves to sit in a movie theater and eat popcorn and Milk Duds. By the way, I've learned the exact number of Milk Duds I can eat safely anymore, and I think it's 4.
Before you start coughing, because I don't like
before
Milk
I
Duds.
start removing dental work.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like man, these old teeth, they are not up to the Milk Dud task anymore. But like sitting in that movie theater, fully focused on it, because the movie is, by the way, over 2 hours long. They're not every. To quote Fred Armisen from the intro, I would say parts of it were uneven, but like I had to watch it and sit there and concentrate on it the whole time, which was ultimately a very rewarding experience. Whereas if I was watching it on Netflix, I might be pausing it. I might get bored and go check the Sunday Night Football score. I might be looking at my phone. I feel like my takeaway from last night is I need to commit to going to more movies in the theater, because I do think I experience it very differently than I do at home, even though I have a whatever inch gigantic screen that, for all intents and purposes should be like I'm in a movie theater. But there's just something about being trapped with the content in a good way that I think is more interesting to me.
Yeah, and I feel like even though there's so many stories about like the death of the, theaters, especially kind of through the pandemic, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I've been compelled to go to the movies so much over the past 6 months. I feel like there have been so many movies. I mean, obviously, One Battle After Another had everybody talking, but Weapons had everybody talking. I just saw Begonia. I wouldn't say everybody's been talking about Begonia, but it was definitely something that we really wanted to see. That's up our alley. Like there was a time when I would just go to the movies and watch schlock, and I will still go to the movie to watch some schlock. I'm with you that there's some stuff that it's like, no, I wouldn't watch that with your eyes. Like, no way. But like,
by the way, that's a scene in a Guillermo del Toro movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And what's his name? A Yorgos Lanthimos movie as well, I believe. But I'm really hoping I got both names right there. Anyway, I just feel like there's been a lot of good stuff. And again, if you want to go really far back to a couple of summers ago, just like even the Barbie and Oppenheimer.
By the way,
like,
co-written by Noah Baumbach.
Yes, exactly. That's why I know I've seen things. I think he also maybe co-wrote maybe Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was...
He did. Good memory.
Okay,
and also
like
Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, which I know that you were a big fan of.
Unfamiliar with that. But yeah, I just feel like there's just been a lot of reasons to go to the movie theater lately. Like there's been interesting films being made that people are talking about while they're in theaters.
I agree with you, but I also think our experience, the kind of movies that maybe we tend to go to, well, I read one article, I don't know, a few weeks ago that said it was like a shocking statistic about the box office. And I think it was in the Times, of course, that's pretty much the only thing I read, that and the Daily News of Longview, Washington. And it was a list of all of these huge stars, including Jennifer Lawrence, who was in this new movie, something like I Would Like to Kill You, or Darling Dead Love of Mine, I forget the name. Like they went through this list of all of these movies that had come out in the last 3 months, all with very kind of bankable stars in them, all of which had lost money. And not just a little bit, had all just tanked. And I think if I remember right, the thrust of the article was like, there is this layer of Hollywood film that is just going away now. And it's sort of like, it's, there's still plenty of interest in a Predator 5 Badlands, or like even Wicked, the new Wicked movie that came out this weekend, apparently smashed all of the expectations. So like there are certain movies, horror movies do really well, and like kids movies do really well, animated movies, but there's this layer of kind of like almost like this Jay Kelly movie probably, which is probably why they're doing that thing that hadn't even occurred to me that you pointed out, Andrew, which is they're throwing it in some artsy movie theaters for a couple of weeks so that it can qualify for the Academy Awards, and then they're sending it right to Netflix. Because I actually think that I think you and I and Vives and Becca might be sort of going to those movies when they pass through, but a lot of those movies that aren't taking that approach, that are trying to actually like go, hey, we're going to be in a theater for a long time, or not, for a typical run of a movie. According to this one article I read, they really are struggling.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the financials are here, but I felt like there was another buzzy movie that I couldn't think of, so I looked up a list of #1 films throughout this year so far, and I forgot Sinners was another one that was like between Weapons and Sinners and One Battle After Another. Like those are 3 movies, and again, I can't speak to whether or not they actually made money, but they certainly and again, amongst amongst our sort of viewing class, whatever that may be, our interests, like it was just like everybody, and also I think that's reflected a little bit in the pop culture of Halloween and stuff too, like how many people dressed up like the main character from Weapons, the woman with all the makeup. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, or and I also can't remember that character's name.
Or how many of our friends who host television shows dressed up as Bob Ferguson from One Battle After Another.
That was one thing. I know so many people who dressed up in that outfit. That's right. I forgot that Chris did it, but I feel like my timeline, I know that some other folks I know dressed up like that fella as well. I think it's a pretty achievable costume that is also in the zeitgeist. You know what I mean?
I didn't read the article, and I should have, but I thought it was an interesting idea. I feel like we kind of roast the Seattle Times a lot on this program, mostly because they deserve it. But I think somebody in the Seattle Times went and saw One Battle After Another with Governor Bob Ferguson.
Yeah, I didn't
Washington
read it,
State.
but I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, the fact that they pulled that off, that they got him to go see the movie, and that the Leo character is named Bob Ferguson and his name is Bob Ferguson, I give them credit for, that's an ambitious stunt to get the governor of Washington to spend 3 hours in that movie theater with you, based mostly on the fact that the character in the movie has the same name.
Your name. I know. Well, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, yeah, good for you. You got him to do it. But then I had absolutely no interest in what was ever in that article. Like, I didn't feel like it was going to, I don't know. Like, for some reason, I did not click on that. And even now, I'm still not all that curious about it. Hey, before this topic slips away too much, I just wanted to share 2 things with you related to, like, sort of this idea of, first of all, going to the theater, and also something that I stumbled on late last night. And these stories are somewhat related. Because I will say, and I don't want to say anything that would be insulting to a friend who might be listening to this, but I was excited, and I wrote about it in the newsletter, that our friend Snacks, the funny bunny, who was on the show, by the way, I looked it up, it was 8 years ago, by the way, that Snacks was on the show with us, stand-up comedian / rabbit that most people know, was holding another one of their like comedy nights at this place, appropriately called the Rabbit Box Theater, but that's kind of a coincidence. But anyway, it's this small space that I know Snacks loves and does various projects at.
I know the people that own that place, by the way.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And so anyway, Snacks was bringing the comedian Josh Fadum, or am I saying that right? Fadum? It's not Fadum.
I'm not sure how to say the last name, but I know the kind of
I think it's Fadum.
I know the legend of Josh.
Yeah, and the first thing I think of is he played Liz Lemon's like diminutive manager. That was what was so funny.
Manager, that was the thing, right?
He was her talent manager, but he was like a child.
Right.
And he would say
That's
things,
where I remember him from
he
too.
would say things like, I've seen bras. Anyway, and like kind of and he also was in Better Call Saul as one of the young camera people, or one young filmmaker. Like, but he's also made a whole bunch of like viral videos, which I didn't know about. They played a bunch of them. So basically, Snacks, the funny bunny, brought Josh Fadum, if I'm saying that right, to do stand up at this small venue in Pike Place Market. And I had it on the calendar, and I was looking forward to it. But I will say, I got a real case of the Sundays, not in the dreading Monday, but like a case of the Sundays. I had a pretty it was a really, really busy day at Pop-Up where I volunteered because it was our big Thanksgiving meal. So it was just like tons of volunteers and tons of people showing up for food. And we had this pretty elaborate meal. And it was just like a long day. And I thought that this show at the Rabbit Box Theater, which is, maybe takes us a half hour to get there by bus or something. And I was like, okay, it starts at 7. And so I came home and I got showered and I was ready for it. And then Vives and I were like, well, should we catch a bus? We'll get there pretty early if we leave now. And then I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't start until 8. And I was really on the precipice, Luke. I was like, I don't know that I can wait until, because if it says show starts at 8, it actually starts at 8:30, which is the case. And I know that that's kind of standard practice. You want people to come in, but I'm like, so I'm going to be going down to Pike Place Market for a show that starts at 8:30 on a Sunday when I have this huge basket of laundry to fold. I'm exhausted. I stayed up too late the night before. Like I was very close to just being like, we pre-bought our tickets. And I was like, so we supported our friend, but maybe we can support our friend from afar. And I kind of powered through, sort of. I said, no, we're going to go. But I was like, this is a dangerous game. I laid down for a second. I'm like, I'm just going to maybe read a little bit and take a little bit of a nap, but this is not me giving up. I think that if I just close my eyes for like a little bit, for like 40
Disco
minutes
nap,
or something.
Which I don't love that term, but I think it's accurate.
And I never do that, though, because if I do that, it takes me like an hour to remember my name. Like I have trouble waking up from naps.
Yeah,
but
I know that feeling.
But I was very intentional about it. I'm like, but I gotta admit, I was kind of grumpy. I'm like, oh, it just added an extra hour to my night. And I was already thinking about like how usually when I go out, then it takes me a long time to kind of wind down once I get home and blah, blah. Luke, I had such a wonderful night. And
good.
It reminded me, it would be funny if all of this was to say, the show sucked, Snack sucked, Josh sucked, and nobody should ever go out on Sundays. No, it was awesome. It was so great. And also, the last time I had been at the Rabbit Box Theater, we had gotten there after the huge crowd was already there to see the show, and I was like standing in the way back, and it was really hot.
That's not something that Andrew's like.
No, I was getting constantly jostled because it was like super crowded, but they have wait staff, and I'm This was not last night. This was for a different show. And by the way, this is just my own thing, but it was when I still had all of my rheumatoid arthritis was not being treated, and I was like, in that one, I remember just being like, so I also had this thing in the back of my head of like, oh, this is going to be a pretty uncomfortable kind of venue too. But no, we got there at a reasonable time. There was a table. We had a great seat sitting at the table service, had a couple of beers, and Josh just went on. I mean, Snacks was amazing. Josh did a really, really long set like nothing I'd seen before, and it reminded me of being in LA a little bit, like when you're just going to go, I don't know, go to the Largo or something like that and just see what's up. And as I left, and I told V's, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I was grumpy about that. Like, absolutely so glad we came. And it makes me want to remember that feeling. Something happened to me a while back, I think in the past couple of years, where I always, my whole life, had this feeling of, well, if I go out, it's going to be busy, and I'm going to be jostled, and I have all these reasons why I don't want to go. And in the past couple of years, what happened is my predictions started coming true. Like there were several like shows and various things I went to where I was like, I want to be out of here so badly. But when you have one of these like last night where everything just clicked perfectly and you're like, oh, this was a kind of a once in a lifetime for a Rabbit hosting a show, introducing Josh Fadem to do this kind of, and then they played films that he had been working on, that Snacks had worked on. It was just an amazing night that I would not have had, and it makes me want to remember this the next time I'm looking at a ticket that says doors at 8 p.m. or show at 8 p.m. or whatever. You know, so good.
Yeah, you know, like we bought these tickets it was a 6:30 showing for the movie, and we bought the tickets at like noon. And I was like, oh boy, I don't know how 6:30 p.m. Luke is going to be feeling. You know, particularly this time of year in the Northwest, when it's already been dark for an hour and a half, and like it's deeply dark outside, like it's like middle of the night kind of dark.
Exactly.
So like, and again, you were on a bigger lift than I was, you know, than we were as far as like, you know, doing something that starts at 8:30, and it's going to be, you know, pretty, in a way, sort of interactive, I guess. You know, we're just going to sit and watch a movie, but even so, it was like, there was some part of the back of my mind that kept reminding myself, I was like, okay, we bought these movie tickets. If we don't want to go, we don't have to go. Like I was telling myself that, I was like, you know, it's $28 but it's going to a good cause, the Hollywood Theater. And like, so I was trying to like, in the back of my mind, prepare for the idea of potentially not going. And then, of course, like when we walk out of the theater after seeing the show, I'm so glad that I went and saw that movie in the theater, even though there was a more convenient way to do it. And I think we've sort of been, weirdly enough, talking about this a few different times of late, Andrew, you and I, about kind of like the sort of the fact that everything feels like it kind of sucks kind of adds to this lack of wanting to go out and engage with the world. And yet it feels to me like going out and engaging with the world, whether it's seeing a movie or going to a show or just going and grabbing dinner or, I don't know, taking a walk, just it's like going out and engaging with the world almost always makes me feel better than not. And yet I feel like a lot of us have this kind of strong impulse not to right now. And so I don't know, just here's 2 thumbs up from Walsh and Burbank on doing something on a Sunday night, huh?
Yeah, and again, the problem with me was I think literally my whole life I've been like that. Like I told you I have this bag of old voicemails that people left me on an actual physical tape back in the 90s when I was in college. And like, if I can ever finally play those, I will hear voicemails from people being like, Andrew, leave your apartment, come out. We're down at Euro Gyro or whatever, like the band's about to start, like people just saying, get out. And like, I am true to that, but like often in my life, when I finally would go out, I'd be like, oh yeah, that was good. But then I really, unfortunately, reality started lining up with my expectations.
You got you had your priors confirmed.
I just had a few things, like even things I love. I remember going to kind of spontaneously going to I believe Diggable Planets show like 5 years ago. Like Vives and I were just having some pizza. Yeah. And it was like literally like, hey, this is around the corner. Do you just want to go? And I was like, yeah, it's kind of on the fence. Like, yeah, let's go. And then I just remember being like, I'm too old for this. I'm jammed in here. They're older than me, I think. But anyway, I was just like, I'm jammed in here. I'm hot. By the time the band played, it was like, 10:30 or whatever it was. And I was just kind of like, this is why I don't go to shows. And I love Diggable Planets,
Yeah.
And so I just unfortunately had a couple of things that reaffirmed my skepticism of going out. And so that's why last night was special. Now, while I'm holding forth, I know we got to thank the donors. I just want to run one quick thing by you that you might already know about.
By the way, don't worry.
Stumbled on.
I can't see the donors' names because there's a friggin' cat parked fully in front of the laptop, so you may have to do the donors.
Okay, that's fine. I don't even know if I sent them to you, so maybe I'm gatekeeping these daily donors today.
Somebody gatekeeped me once. I did not like it.
So I came home, and as I kind of predicted, though, Genevieve went to bed, and I was like, I'm going to be up for a little bit here. So I watched The Chair Company, the latest Chair Company, and oddly enough, that didn't relax me.
Really?
That put me in the mood to go to bed.
You mean David Lynch for Burbanks? That's what I've decided. I'm one episode behind you, but I've just decided I was catching up on it the other day, and I was like, oh, this is just David Lynch, except it's stylized just enough for somebody like me to be able to handle it.
There is something Lynchian about the fades. There's such a small thing, and again, I think it's because they're both takes on neo-noir in a way, and there's this neo-noir thing where it does a crossfade that we don't see in modern TV and movies all that much anymore. Instead of like a hard clip from one scene to another, like it'll just like fade out of one scene and fade in the other. It's not every transition, but when it happens, it feels so noir-y and dark and Lynchian to me. Anyway, I watched that. It didn't put me to sleep. So I'm like, I just need to watch something that is not like a heavy lift right now. And I would not have been in the mood to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm because that would have been kind of similar, like cringe humor that would have gotten me too peaked. But I saw something on HBO called, it was just being suggested to me, Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm like, is this a look back at Curb Your Enthusiasm? What is this? It turns out, and I haven't even looked this up yet, but it's quite clear what I was watching, and I watched most of it before I eventually went to bed. I think Curb Your Enthusiasm, before it was started as a regular series, I think it was a one-off mockumentary that had, it's almost, because this came out in 1999. This is still the 90s. Curb Your Enthusiasm, the show, has not come out yet. This is like an idea that Larry David has, I think, to like kind of do a bit of a mock, or kind of a real documentary. You have Seinfeld in there. You have George Alexander. They're talking to the camera about Larry David, how he used to do stand-up before Seinfeld. Seinfeld and some of his jokes, which I want to tell you about in a second. But then you definitely have Jeff Garlin playing Jeff Green, right? And you have
okay.
you have Madame Maha herself, playing Cheryl Hines is already playing his wife. But it's clear that this was not supposed to be a series. This was just like going to be a one-off hour-long mockumentary, with the idea being like post Seinfeld, Larry David wants to go and do stand-up again. And so it's almost like that documentary Comedian a little bit. And speaking of Largo, you see him like kind of practicing his material at Largo, and it's like both, it's 1999, so it's like peak reality TV / mockumentary. Like it almost seems like it's VHS quality at times. It's so cheap, and it's amazing how cheap and crappy all of their offices look. Like, was there something in the 90s where people just didn't put anything on their walls? There was just like this just bare white, like ugly offices. But it was like, it was interesting to see what Curb Your Enthusiasm was sort of based on, and I think it was based on this one-off. And they also, I don't know if this is real or not, but they're talking about Larry David's stand-up when he was a young man. And assuming that this part was not made up, that these are real jokes, it was so absolutely funny. They said that, I think this is maybe Jerry talking about, he would come out and he was balding a little bit as a young man.
But he had crazy hair on the sides.
Crazy long hair. Yeah.
I've seen photos.
Yes, it's almost afro-ish sort of, and he's still got these little round glasses, but it's all dark hair back then. He's a young man. Sometimes apparently he would just come out and just slowly look at the audience and just scan the audience from left to right as if he were judging them. And then just put the microphone back in the stand and say, never mind, and walk off the stage.
That's a great bit.
And then let me see. There's one joke I got to tell you. I bark laughed. I think I've got it queued up here, but I don't know for sure. I didn't pull this tape. I just am playing this from HBO.
An episode pretty early on, and George was doing.
Oh, that's a different one. This is where where Jason Alexander realizes that his George character is basically based on Larry David. David. I can't find the actual joke, but I'll retell it to you. Apparently, when he was doing stand up as a young man, he would come out looking as you and I just described him, and he'd say, "I'll tell you something about good-looking people. We're not well liked."
That's a great joke.
A good joke. And so I haven't finished watching this, but I wasn't sure if you knew this. Is this common knowledge that Curb Your Enthusiasm started as like a one-off, like sort of 1999 reality TV mockumentary?
No, I did not know the exact origin story of it, but that would kind of track, because I've been seeing weird clips of Larry David popping up in my TikTok feed, like him playing basketball, not as part of like an episode of Curb, but like almost just kind of found footage, because apparently he also loves pickup basketball. And it's that era you're talking about where he has like, he's bald on top, but he is enthusiastically growing hair on the sides. And he's just like dribbling the ball, probably like the Y in Manhattan or something. And it's like, I've been seeing kind of archival Larry David stuff popping up. And so I'm wondering if maybe that, whatever that is, that pilot, that proof of concept, if it's kind of having a moment again for some reason, because maybe I don't know if it's been re-released on HBO or what. What I think is interesting too, and then we should get to the donors if we can, is it sounds like you said you didn't really feel like watching Curb Your Enthusiasm because, there's a lot of tension in that show at all times. But you did feel like watching something that said Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't understand that colon was doing a lot of work. Like, how did that seem?
That's
less
what my doctor
anxiety?
said.
No, that's
why I had
pretty good spoof.
Eat all that yellow Jello.
That doesn't seem any less anxiety producing than the normal thing.
Here's the problem with me is I find it so difficult to pick television to watch, especially when I'm in that mood.
You're not alone.
I'm like, I don't want to engage with something fully here. Basically what happened was I sat down to watch The Chair Company. I had a whole basket of laundry that needed to be folded. I started folding it, but I got too sucked into The Chair Company. So when that ended, I looked over and I still had a lot of laundry to fold. And so that I was like, well, I need something else, and clearly something that is a little bit less engaging, something that I can kind of turn my brain off. And HBO, to your point, was suggesting it to me. It was like suggesting it as a tile. And there was something about it being called Larry David : Curb Your Enthusiasm. And the tile showed him like sitting in a chair like he was being interviewed. I thought it was some sort of new look back at it that was going to be like more, not
like
a
director's
mockumentary.
commentary or something.
More like people interviewing him about his run, since I'm pretty sure that he has now said he's done with that show. I thought it was going to be a look back at the life of Larry David. I thought it was going to be a real documentary. And then when I hit play, I'm like, it just felt very 90s. It felt very late 90s in a lot of ways. I'm like, this is not new. And we see a very young Jeff Garland, right? Garland. And I was like, what the hell am I watching? And then I just kind of got sucked into it for a while. And yeah, luckily it wasn't quite as cringe. It like the improv that he's doing with people is a lot more like they just break a lot more. And it's also just like, it's like they made an agreement, like it's okay if it's not funny. It's like very unpolished. He's just kind of like,
we made that same agreement years ago.
Exactly, and I signed it. But you know what I mean? Like it was just like it was a very raw version of the show where he hadn't already defined that genre, kind of.
And that totally makes sense too. That like what happens is it starts there, what you're describing, and then what people respond to are the moments of like high drama. And maybe drama is not even the right word, but basically the more extreme the response is, the more Susie Essman, the better.
Yes,
where it just becomes, it's sort of like the toxicity of the show. It kind of sort of ramps every season because that's what the viewers respond to. And so eventually it's just all toxic.
Yes, and Veep did that too, which really bummed me out. I always thought Veep was such a smart show, and it was a brilliant show. But by the end, they started to amplify the characters that just swore rapid-paced all the time, and like, that was always a small part of it, but it just leaned on that so much that it became not an enjoyable watch for me in the last season. And yeah, Curb just gets so rough for me. Like even during the peak seasons, I think I could watch maybe 2 in a row before I'd have to tap out.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, maybe, at its high point or whatever, or like I would say, like once everyone started talking about, oh, you got to check out Curb, I probably watched a few seasons, but there definitely became a point at which it feels like, do I want to spend some hours with the worst friends I've ever met?
Yeah, right.
Or, and it's like, and I understand objectively that a lot of it's really funny, but it's one of those programs that like, I'm rarely in the mood for that, to laugh at the way people are treating each other in that show or whatever. I know it's not relaxing, which is why, by the way, back to that the paralysis of infinite choices with all the TV and streaming we have. That's why I'm so psyched about The Chair Company. I'm so psyched about liking it because that's a decision I don't have to make on a Sunday night. Like if I didn't get to watch it last night because we were watching Jay Kelly, but like had I been home and turned on my TV, I wouldn't be like, God, what am I gonna? I wouldn't be tortured about the decision to watch. I'd be like, oh, I'm watching The Chair Company because I'm excited because it comes out on Sunday night, and I like that.
Speaking of, we talked before the show, you're one behind on The Chair Company because it just dropped last night, and I'm one behind on Pluribus because it just dropped on Friday, and I didn't catch up on that.
I'm caught up on Pluribus.
So you're caught up. You've watched all 4 episodes, or you've watched all 4. There's 4 Pluribi now, right? And I've only
I
seen
feel
3
comfortable
of them.
saying this because I don't think he'll hear it, but I did end up having a conversation on a Saturday night with a possibly high Rick Steves about the show Pluribus. So they keep name checking him on the show.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. I was wondering where you're going with that. I kind of forgot. That's right. She name checks him at least twice in that first episode.
And I texted, I think it's not well, maybe it's in the first 2, but I noticed it in the one where well, wait, I want to make sure this isn't.
Oh, no, you're right. It's the second one.
Have you seen the one where this isn't giving anything away. Have you seen the ice one? You've seen the ice
that
one.
was episode 2. I misspoke there.
Okay.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure I wasn't spoiling something.
That.
So I fired him a text that said, hey, they keep talking about you on Pluribus. Just kind of like, haha, that's cool. Like, and then like hours go by and then it's like 9:00 at night on Saturday and I'm in bed and I'm getting a call from a very giggly Rick Steves. who is telling me not only has he been mentioned on Pluribus, but he was a New York Times crossword puzzle answer recently. And he told me one other thing that's been going really well for him.
And he called you, though. He's not texting you.
Called me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
9
Wow,
o'clock
I
at
love
night.
it. Love that.
Which is, that's a power move. I mean, there's a short list of people I would feel comfortable calling on a Saturday night at 9 p.m., So, and maybe that's just generational or whatever, but it was very funny. We had a conversation. He was a total sweetheart, but I was also knowing his well-documented love of cannabis, that's why I don't think I'm talking out of school, and the timing and how absolutely jazzed he seemed. I wonder if I was getting a high dial from Rick Steves.
Maybe. But I want to watch, I'll try to watch episodes. We've talked a lot about television, and I want to talk about Pluribus with you really bad, because I feel like I'm right on the fence right now, and I have some thoughts about why I'm on the fence, and whether or not I'm being pushed to my limit. No,
I know
I've,
a guy
I've
at his limit.
I've enjoyed it, but I realized the show is a different show than I thought it was going to be after watching the first episode. So how about I watch episode 4 and
I'll watch
thank the
Chair
donors.
Company tonight, and then tomorrow we can just
I'd love
talk endlessly
to trade
about
notes.
two shows that our listeners may or may not have any awareness of.
At this point, though, I feel like we can have some conversations about this with enough warning for listeners if they want to catch up, especially the Chair Company. We're one episode away from the finale, or the finale will be the next episode for this season at least. So I think we've given people some chances.
I was
to
less worried about the
it.
spoilers and more worried about people not caring.
I've never let that get in my way.
We made a second agreement.
Yes.
There's 2 agreements that we made years ago, and that's the second one.
Thank you, baby.
All right, let's thank those donors. This show would not exist if not for folks like these next few names I'm going to be reading, who are voluntarily supporting TBTL with a donation of cash. I was, as I so often am, was at a little TV shoot this morning here in Portland before coming back to do this, and I said, okay, I'm going to have to step away for a couple of hours because I've got to go do this podcast. He said, oh, a podcast? Well, how long you been doing it? How does it work? And it's when I'm explaining trying to, and there was a point where the people I was talking to at the shoot had completely glazed over. But that doesn't diminish my enthusiasm here. There are these moments where I'm describing this show and its existence and how it exists, which is the donors, that I remain amazed all these years later. And it's all thanks to folks like Jamal Abdi, who's in Arlington, Virginia.
Thank you, Jamal. Appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Jamal. Appreciate you. Beautiful Arlington, Virginia. We love it out there. Mary Donahue is in Brooklyn, New York, another place we love.
Yes, it reminds me that Josh Fadum, or maybe Fadum, played a video.
He never said his last name because I've
no, he did.
I've never
forgot. I've already forgotten.
I've never been able to say his last name on site, but I wondered, does he open the show? He should do a bit about how no one knows how to say his name.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's his style of comedy is not straightforward at all.
Oh, really?
By the way, but no, of course, Snacks introduced him. Like I heard, I just now on Monday I forgot to double check it, and I'm back in the land of the confusion. But he did a great. In the video that he played, an amazing Donahue impression, Phil Donahue,
I love
which
it.
is amazing because it was so good and so well produced and such a good parody, and how many people remember Phil Donahue? Somebody doing a Phil Donahue in 2025 is just so funny to me. Just the idea that he wanted to put work into that is amazing.
And that this guy Josh, last name TBD. Here's what we really need to do: is we need to get Josh to donate to TBTL because there is a pronouncer.
Yes.
There is a pronouncer section of the intake form, and then that's the only way we'll ever know how to say his last name. He is considerably younger than us, too, I get the sense.
No, that's something that he talks about. He's 45, and he says, he goes on this whole thing. He's like, people always say, you look young for your age. That's a good thing. That he has this very rat-a-tat-tat way of doing stand-up that I can't imitate here. But it's very repetitive, very ADHD coded. So anyway, but yeah, he says that people are always saying how young he looks when he's 45. So
because Donahue is such an old pole. Donahue is like an old pole for me. I was one of those strange kids who would I'd go over to James DeMuth's house after school because there was he was a latchkey kid, so it was a totally unsupervised television environment. And I would like always be hoping we could watch Donahue. He'd want to watch Silverhawks or some normal kid programming, but I'd be like, God, but Donahue's got the Chippendales on. We're about to see something. And it's such a, you're right, it's such a weird, like old timey now impression that like I'm probably, maybe me and you are the only target audience for a Donahue impression, but I'm sad that I missed it.
It was so great, and it looks like it's not online, by the way. So he made this film. I don't know if it just airs or he just screens it when he's on tour or what.
He did the glasses and the wig and the
yes, and it was
everything?
long. It went on. It was probably like a 10-minute short or something, or maybe I feel like it was like a 10-minute short or something. It's how he kind of closed out a show, and then played a new short film that he had made that was filmed in Seattle. It was talk about Lynchian, very kind of dark and funny at the same time. But
was it about the TV show Bergquist?
No, what is that?
Oh, well, that's Jerome's last name. He's our next guest, our next donor, I should say, Jerome Bergquist of Richfield, Minnesota. Because Mary Donahue is what reminded you of the Donahue
in Brooklyn, New York. Did I talk over that part?
No, you didn't. We got that all in.
Brooklyn. Thank you so much.
Thank
Jerome.
you, and thank you, Jerome, as well, so much. Thanks to Alexis Loving in Melrose, Massachusetts. Am I insane, or have we had? I feel like we've got a couple people in Melrose, Massachusetts, because my brain always wants to go to like Melrose, California. But here's the thing: Melrose, California is not a city; it's just a neighborhood of Los Angeles, I believe. So I feel like I have this memory of seeing Melrose, thinking L.A., and then seeing Massachusetts. But
I'm looking this up because I'm not familiar with Melrose, Massachusetts. I don't think I've been there. And for a second there, I couldn't even remember if Melrose was a real place or if Melrose Place was just a place. But yeah, there's a Melrose in L.A., right?
Absolutely. It's a neighborhood that's got like, I think that Supreme store is in Melrose. It's got a lot of like, kind of like apparel stuff going on.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what they sell in Melrose, Massachusetts, but I know that Alexis Loving lives there, and that makes me like Melrose, Massachusetts a whole lot. Also, thanks to Jennifer Siemens, who's in San Jose, California.
Oh, I've been wearing my San Jose Giants hat lately. I have such fond memories of my single trip to San Jose. I got to make it back down there.
It's a cool place. The last time I was there, I was interviewing the guy who does a YouTube feed called Sandwiches of History, where every day, and this was, game recognized game. He does this 5 days a week. He makes a sandwich that's from some old book or a new book. And then he tells you how to make it, and he makes it, he films, and then he takes a bite, and he tells you if it's good or not. Very simple concept, but very watchable.
Yeah.
Every time he pops up on my TikTok feed, I'm like, I want to see how this sandwich turns out. I really like it. I really like Jennifer Siemens being in San Jose as well. Thanks, Jennifer.
Too.
And then Nancy Heinrich is in Olympia, Washington. I'm going to be driving through Olympia, Washington on Wednesday, and we'll see how it goes. It's going to be apparently especially packed traffic season for the holiday traffic.
Because people are flying less because of all the BS and driving
I believe
more,
so. That's
maybe?
what I heard this morning. That's what they said on Ask Jeeves, which is my nickname for Oregon Public Broadcasting. That's what they said this morning on OPB, was that more people maybe than ever are driving this holiday season, and it's going to be especially bad. More or less the route between where I live and where my parents live. So we'll see. My daughter's flying up from Los Angeles. I'm driving from Southern Washington. We'll see which takes longer.
Yeah, right.
I think it might be the drive.
Here I go once again with the email. Every week, I hope that it's from a female. Oh, man. It's not from a female.
All right. Emails or V-mails before I roll on out of here back to my television shoot, where I can try to re-explain to them the funding model of TBTL, see if they'll unglaze.
Yes, sounds good. Yes, in addition to that sweet postcard we got from Lydia, also got this voicemail on the voicemail line from Carolyn.
Hey, Venus boys. This is Carolyn calling from Colchester, Vermont. It is Monday morning. I happened to wake up sometime early for me, and I remembered, is it garbage day today? My wife and I returned from a trip yesterday, Sunday, and we weren't thinking about garbage. And I look at the calendar. It's just before 6 a.m., and indeed, it is trash and recycle pickup day, and the cans aren't out. But here's the thing. Even though I was so cozy in my bed, it's dark out, like a hero, grabbed my robe, went downstairs. As I'm passing through the house, I can see through the windows the trash truck is already coming down the road. So I turn on all the lights outside so they know I'm here. I'm opening the garage door to get out to where the cans are. The truck pulls up, and the trash lady, yes, the trash lady was a woman. She comes out, and I say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I just remembered. And she's like, oh, no problem, no problem. She's in a great mood. She's smiling, big smile. Monday morning, so early for me, 6 a.m., right? She came just at 6 a.m. All right, so anyway, I get the bins out for her. I say, hey, what's your name? She says, Mary. I say, Mary, thank you. She gives me a big smile, says, oh, no problem. She gets back in her truck. I put the bins back where they belong. Done. Job done. I'm a freaking garbage hero. Give me a shirt that says garbage hero, boys. All right,
Not all
anyway,
garbage heroes wear shirts.
Power out.
Should we get Carolyn a shirt that says garbage hero?
You know, that's actually not a bad merch idea.
It really is.
Like, TV, John's going to hear this. We're going to have another meeting on Wednesday about Garbage Hero shirts, but that's actually not a bad idea for a TBTL shirt.
But you got to earn it. You can't just buy it. You got to earn it by being a garbage hero.
And no stealing it. We don't want any stolen garbage valor either.
No.
We will not stand for that on this program.
We don't need any Gronks.
Oh, yeah, right, because he's always trying to become a Navy. You know what happened there,
I like
Andrew?
the way
I'm
I just
sorry.
assumed you would know what I was talking about.
And
no,
I
that
did, but for a moment I thought, wait, do we mean Grok?
Right.
The chat GPT program.
Right,
Then
yeah.
I was like, okay, Gronk, did he get? And then I'm like, oh, yeah, he's always trying to get that Navy Federal Credit Union
That's right.
insurance going in.
That's right.
You know what move I've been on, because I've been out of town so much lately, is leaving my garbage can on the street, which isn't in anyone's way or anything. I have to wheel it up from my house up to like where the mailboxes are, past where the county road ends. And like, because I sometimes I forget if I'm going to be around or not on Wednesday evening, and I don't want to risk it. I've started this move of late where my garbage can lives out at the pickup spot, and I take my bags of garbage to it so that I can never have a mess up where it's full of garbage and then not at the right place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And you don't have that issue of like people dumping garbage in your garbage
No,
can.
nobody
Well, first
comes
of all,
down
you
there.
don't
I mean,
care as much also.
I don't care as much, and B, there's no risk of that happening. I do feel very bad, though, about something involving a garbage bag, a small plastic garbage bag of Gigi's poop, which was, I was walking her a few weeks ago when she was staying with me. It was in the morning, and I was walking up my street, and she decided to drop a deuce like 2 minutes into the walk, basically near my neighbor's yard. So I bagged up the poop, but then I tied the bag up, and then I placed it carefully on the ground, kind of between the street and their yard, my plan being to come back and pick it up on the way back down, because we still had, 20, 30 minutes of walking to do. And would you believe, when we get back down to my house, I look for the bag and it's gone.
And this is outside somebody else's house or your own house?
Outside somebody else's house.
Okay, yeah.
My neighbor's house. So my fear is that my neighbor thought that I or someone else had just like carelessly discarded a bag of dog poop kind of near their yard and was not doing anything about it, when in fact I was just leaving it there because I didn't want to carry it all around the neighborhood for the next half hour, only to bring it back to my house where I was going to toss it in my garbage can. But in the time that we were walking around the rest of the neighborhood, somebody saw the bag and picked it up and disposed of it and may be mad at me about it, and I don't know what to do about that.
Well, the biggest concern would be if you think it's the people whose house might have a view of that, if it were them. And it's too late now. I could have seen myself being troubled by that and leaving a note on their door later, and saying, hey, if you're the person who, picked up that bag I left there, I promise you I was coming back to pick it up. The fact that you would go back to leave a note would be proof that you care. You know what I mean? If you were to, that's probably what I would do because it would eat
What color of
away at
ink
me.
would you use?
I'd probably, for this one, this is like kind of a thank you / sorry. I'm probably starting with pink, but I'm going to get one of those pens with 8 different colors on it that I'm seeing
Try to
more
get
and more
all of the different pen heads out at the same time.
Did you notice that they're using that as a lot? Maybe they always have, and I was just noticing it this season, but I was seeing a lot of guys in the dugout using those during Mariners games, and it must have something to do with
old
like
school multicolor pen.
yeah,
with
just the
different
four
clickers.
the 4 one, the classic one that's like shaped like a torpedo or whatever, and it must have to do with them. I don't think they're scoring the game. I think it was like pitching coaches and stuff, but they must be color coding their notes in a way that I really appreciate. But anyway, that's something you could have done, but it could have been a total stranger just walking by, I suppose.
No, it wouldn't have been a stranger. There's no foot traffic down there, so it would have only been my neighbor, whose house, this was. And the thing is, like I said, it's like you've got the road, then you've just got some kind of it's not even a tree lawn as you would call it, Andrew. It's just kind of some grass, and then there's a fence, which is like then past the fence is into their yard. So it was outside the fence, on the grass that was between their fence and the road. Now that would be considered their property, I guess. It almost might be kind of community property, like the way that like a gully, next to a road, like a little ditch next to a road might be kind of community property or something. But regardless, I just felt bad because
they probably care for it, right? Like they mow it, I'm sure.
They probably mow. You know what I'll do next time I'd see them, because I always
you do know them. See, that's what I wanted to see. Like wasn't sure if there's a neighbor down the street that you only know in theory.
I'm good with. Let's think. I think I know all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I know like about 8 neighbors up my road. Then it gets a little hazy. Then it's some people in these big McMansions that I don't really have a chance to talk too much. But everybody in my immediate little neighborhood, I know all of them on a first name basis now. So I'm comfortable checking in with them. My one neighbor, the other guy, and I don't think this is the guy who picked up the dog poop, because this is across the street from him, but he's the guy that puts out like a 12 flag and then a Seahawks flag. These are different. They're really big. And there's nothing that makes me happier than walking out of my house on a Sunday morning to do something and seeing the 12 flag and the Seahawks flag. Then he takes them down. Like he treats them like the American flag. Like he folds them with reverence. It's like very respectful. They only are out there while the games are happening.
But
for some reason, it makes me so happy.
Does he fly him at like half mast or half staff or half mast when somebody
I
gets
go
injured?
back and forth between those two. When Sam Darnold throws 4 interceptions, he has to fly it at half mast.
That would be.
How about when our defense decides
funny.
to? That would actually be really funny. I'll suggest it next time. How about next time that the Seahawks defense decides to not wrap people up on tackles for an entire game against the Tennessee Titans? But thankfully, we did emerge with the W on that one. So
yeah, I was barely watching that. I kind of had it on, but I was like doing my morning prep and stuff, so I wasn't watching play by play. But I was kind of like, boy, they should really have a.
Well, that was it. When I got to Becca's
here.
house, I was like, I don't even care about this game. And she was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, because they're going to win by a bunch. And then as they slowly allowed Tennessee to stay in the game, suddenly I was much more fixated on my phone. And she's like, I thought you didn't care about the game. I was like, that's when I thought they were going to win by 40.
Now, well, never mind. Sorry, we got to wrap up the show. I was going to ask you a question about Cam Ward with the music playing. What am I doing?
What was your Cam Ward question?
Well, no, it's too big of a question for I was going to say, aside from the Seattle Seahawks of it all, generally speaking, do you think will it be interesting to watch Cam Ward sort of develop into a quarterback?
Yes.
Because we saw some flashes yesterday of this young quarterback kind of like overcoming adversity. And I was kind of like, oh, aside from him playing the team I'm rooting for, it would be kind of cool to watch him develop.
Yeah, I thought he actually was pretty impressive given the circumstances, and he's going up against a really good defense, and, they're 1-9 or whatever. They were 1-8. It's like it'd be very easy to just kind of like shut it down. And I thought you put a team around him, he could be pretty good. Was my take on the matter. So, all right, that is going to do it for today's episode of TBTL. But we will be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. In the meantime, y'all have a great Monday. Stay safe, and please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
I think we have a textbook case of video game abuse.
Maybe we should do something to save him from becoming a human microchip.
Power out.